heartache before I learned to time. My whole entire kingdom was this crooked creek of mine. I'd leave the house at sunrise with my shoes still in my hand, the first and only citizen of my wild and promised land. I knew the name of every rock, every fallen tree, and the secrets of the water were all whispered just to me. And I was just a boy then, and the creek was my best friend, on a long and lazy summer that I prayed would never end. It taught me about the current and the way the world can flow. It taught me all the simple, honest things a boy should know. It was my church, it was my school, it was my getaway. And a part of me is still right there in that water to this day. I'd search for crawdads under stones and watch the minnows race, a smile of pure and simple joy plastered on my face. I'd build my little dams of mud and watch them wash away, the first hard lesson that you learn, that nothing's meant to stay. And I'd talk to it for hours about the man I'd one day be, and I'd swear that in its bubbling that old creek would talk to me. 'Cause I was just a boy then, and the creek was my best friend, on a long and lazy summer that I prayed would never end. It taught me about the current and the way the world can flow. It taught me all the simple, honest things a boy should know. It was my church, it was my school, it was my getaway. And a part of me is still right there in that water to this day. The world gets complicated and it pulls you from the shore, and you forget the simple truths you knew so long before. But sometimes in my quietest of moments I go back to that boy beside the water on that well-worn muddy track. Playful, bright, and joyfully, in a stout high harmonica, so low that sounds like splashing in a creek on a summer day. Just a boy then, and the creek was my best friend, a summer that I prayed would never end. The things a boy should know, the way the world can flow. She was 10 years old already when I bought her for a song, a rusty faded two-tone green where everything was wrong. The driver's door would never close, the radio wouldn't play, but she was my own freedom at the closing of the day. I'd saved up all my money from a long and sweaty year, and the only thing I wanted was to get away from here. And in this beat-up Chevrolet, I was the king of this whole town, just a 17-year-old boy driving up and driving down. In this beat-up Chevrolet with you right by my side, we had a pocket full of nothing and a world of foolish pride. We were going absolutely nowhere, but we were going there so fast. In the glory of a youthful dream that was never meant to last. I picked you up on Friday nights, you'd be waiting by the curb. The prettiest and finest sight in the whole suburban world. We'd roll the windows all the way down and we'd sing to our own tune, making promises we couldn't keep beneath a summer moon. This dashboard's seen our first real kiss, it's seen our first real fight. It's seen us fall in love a bit in the pale and hazy light. 'Cause in this beat-up Chevrolet I was the king of this whole town, just a 17-year-old boy driving up and driving down. In this beat-up Chevrolet with you right by my side, we had a pocket full of nothing and a world of foolish pride. Now I'm older and I'm wiser and I drive a better car, but I've never felt as rich as in that rusty beat-up Star. 'Cause freedom isn't what you drive, it's what you feel inside, when you're young and dumb and so in love with nowhere left to hide. An energetic driving, joyfully rebel has a monarch that sounds like a fast drive down a country road with the windows down. This beat-up Chevrolet, the king of this whole town, driving up and driving down, the best I've ever found. Going nowhere, going fast, a dream that couldn't last. I was 12 years old that summer and I felt so big and grown when old man Peter said, "Son, I could use a hand, you know." He offered me $1 for an afternoon of work, and I'd never felt a feeling like the one that gave a jerk to my heart. It was a moment so important and so grand, to finally be a worker and a true and helping hand. And I remember my first hay bale. It was bigger than me. I was sweating in the summer sun for all the world to see. I remember my first hay bale and the strain upon my back, putting all my boyish muscles on that hot and dusty track. It was more than just some feed for cows, it was a heavy golden prize. It was the first time that I saw a different look in my own father's eyes. The hay was rough and itchy and the dust was in my nose, and 100 tiny blisters on my fingers and my toes. The other men were laughing at my clumsy childish ways. In the hazy, hot and endless and the beautiful sweet days. But I wouldn't quit, I wouldn't stop, I wouldn't bend or break, for my own and humble, foolish, and my family's honor's sake. 'Cause I remember my first hay bale. It was bigger than me. I was sweating in the summer sun for all the world to see. I remember my first hay bale and the strain upon my back, putting all my boyish muscles on that hot and dusty track. It was more than just some feed for cows, it was a heavy golden prize. It was the first time that I saw a different look in my own father's eyes. And when the day was over, he put that dollar in my palm, and it felt just like a treasure in the evening's quiet calm. And I learned that day that honest work, no matter what the pay, is the only thing that washes all your childish fears away. A proud, strong, and blue harmonica solo that feels like a satisfying, hard day's work. My first hay bale, bigger than me, sweating in the sun for all the world to see. A heavy golden prize, the look in my own father's eyes. Autumn leaves are falling, the air is crisp and clean. The world is painting pictures in the finest shades I've seen. I'm sitting on the porch steps, just watching the day fade, and a memory comes walking up, a ghost that's unafraid. It's my own boy, he's running with a laugh so wild and free. And for a second, I swear to God, the boy he is me. And he's wearing my old jacket, the one I wore at 10. And I'm right back in that faded photograph of way back when. He's wearing my old jacket, and the sleeves are way too long. And he's singing his own version of my long-forgotten song. And time becomes a circle in a beautiful, strange way. And the man I am today is watching his own yesterday. Got the same old cowlick and the same old scraped up knee that I got from trying to climb that old and stubborn willow tree. He's got my father's steady eyes, my mother's easy grace, a perfect combination in his happy, youthful face. And I see him looking at the world with that same old hopeful view, that everything is possible and every dream is new. 'Cause he's wearing my old jacket, the one I wore at 10. And I'm right back in that faded He's wearing my old jacket, and the sleeves are way too long. And he's singing his own version of my long-forgotten song. And time becomes a circle in a beautiful, strange way. And the man I am today is watching his own yesterday. And you want to tell him, slow down, son, this life, it moves so fast. The best and most precious moments are the ones that never last. But you know he has to learn it in his own and special way. So you just sit back and watch him, and you silently just pray. A wise, warm, and deeply content harmonica solo that feels like watching your own child and your own past at the same time. My boy in my old jacket, the one I wore at 10, way back when, again and again. The sleeves are way too long, his own and hopeful song. I've seen them in the movies, I've heard them on the radio. The stories of the grand old loves, the way they're supposed to go. With the lightning and the thunder, and the drama and the art. The stories of a perfect and a never-breaking heart. But I've been lucky in this life to see a different kind. The quiet, steady, honest love you'd be blessed to ever find. And it's not a fancy story, but the best love song I've known is the one I see in my own folks in this house I call my own. It's my mother's easy laughter, it's my father's gentle hand. It's a quiet conversation that the two of them just done. It's the truest kind of poetry, it's a shelter and a sign. And I'd be a lucky man to have a love as good as mine. I've seen them disagree sometimes, I've seen them have their doubts. I've seen them face the winter of the long and lonely droughts. But I've never seen them turn away, I've never seen them quit.
just a quiet sense of teamwork and a whole lot of good grit. He still makes her coffee, she still saves him the last bite. It's in the thousand little things they do from morning until night. 'Cause it's not a fancy story, but the best love song I've known is the one I see in my own folks in this house I call my own. It's my mother's easy laughter, it's my father's gentle hand. It's a quiet conversation that the two of them just done. It's the truest kind of poetry, it's a shelter and a sign. And I'd be a lucky man to have a love as good as mine. They're not a young and fiery flame, they're a steady, warm and glow. And they've taught me everything I'll ever need to really know. That a real love isn't perfect, but a real love's always kind. And it's the greatest, rarest treasure that a man could ever find.
A wise, respectful, and deeply loving harmonica solo that feels like a tribute to a beautiful, real-life love story.
The best love song I've known, the best love song I've known. In this house I call my own, my mother's gentle hand. In this good and promised land, a shelter and a sign. A love as good as mine. My streets are cracked and faded, my storefronts, they are old. I've heard a million stories that have never yet been told. I've seen the young boys full of pride in their first and beat-up cars, making wishes for the future on my silent, patient stars. I've seen the girls with hopeful eyes, all dressed up for a dance, just waiting for a single and a life-destroying glance. And I've seen it all before, the fire and the fall, the whisper of a yes and the writing on the wall. I've seen it all before, the sunshine and the shade, the beautiful and terrible, and the promises they've made. I'm just a quiet keeper of the heartache and the grace, the lonely, loving history of this old and tired place. musician with the sad songs and the doubt, and the girl who heard his real words and who helped to pull him out. I watched them build a house up on that windy western hill, and I've heard their children's laughter when the summer night is still. I've seen their love get tested, I've seen them bend and break, and I've seen them choose each other for their own and loving sake. 'Cause I've seen it all before, the fire and the fall, the whisper of a yes and the writing on the wall. I've seen it all before, the sunshine and the shade, the beautiful and terrible, and the promises they've made. I'm just a quiet keeper of the heartache and the grace, the lonely loving history of this old and tired place. And the people, they all come and go like the seasons soft and low. They're just a fleeting moment in my long and steady flow. But they leave a little piece behind, a memory and a ghost of the simple human loving that I treasure here the most. Wise, ancient, and panoramic monarch solo that sounds like 100 years of stories being told on the wind. I've seen it all before, the fire and the fall, the whisper of this old and tired place. The kids are all asleep now, the house is finally still, just the whisper of the oak tree on the dark and windy hill. You're reading in your favorite chair, I'm staring at the fire, fulfilling every single one of my heart's most deep desires. We don't have to talk, you know, we've said it all before. In the 20-something years since you first walked right through my door. And this is a comfortable quiet, a peace I've never known, the finest crop of loving that our patient hands have grown. This is a comfortable quiet, a soft and steady art of knowing every corner of a well-worn happy heart. The fire of our youth has turned into a steady warming gleam, the answer to a prayer that was a long-forgotten dream. I know just how you take your tea. I know you hate the cold. I know the story of your scars, the ones you've never told. And you know I'm always restless when a big storm's coming through. And you know the only thing that calms me is the simple sight of you. We're not a mystery anymore, the pages have all been read. We can hear the silent conversations happening in our head. 'Cause this is a comfortable quiet, a peace I've never known, the finest crop of loving that our patient hands have grown. This is a comfortable quiet, a soft and steady art of knowing every corner of a well-worn happy heart. The fire of our youth has turned into a steady warming gleam, the answer to a prayer that was a long-forgotten dream. They write the songs about the chase, the fire and the spark. They never write about the beauty of just sitting in the dark. But this right here is the real prize, the thing you're fighting for. To not have to say a single word and not need anything more. A wise, peaceful, and deeply content harmonica solo that feels like a long, happy, and comfortable silence between two people who know each other completely. A comfortable quiet, a peace I've never known. The seeds that we have grown in this house I call my own. A steady warming gleam, a long-forgotten dream. That first snow of the winter is a falling soft and slow, putting the old tired world to bed with a gentle sleepy glow. I'm sitting in my rocking chair, the one that knows my ways, and I'm looking back across the long and winding of my days. The house is quiet now, you know, the kids are all long gone, and I'm just an old man waiting for a quiet final dawn. But I'm not alone in here, no, I'm in the finest company, 'cause the ghosts are all my friends now, and they sit right here with me. The ghosts are all my friends now, the ones I loved and lost. We sit and talk about the years, and we don't count the cost. There's no more pain, there's no regret, there's no more need to mend. 'Cause when you've lived a good long life, the ghosts are all There's a barefoot boy beside me with a fish hook and a line, and his simple, easy laughter is a better thing than wine. There's a nervous 17-year-old in a beat-up Chevrolet who's thinking that his first love will never go away. And I see my father's steady hands and my mother's gentle grace, and your beautiful young spirit is all over this old place. 'Cause I'm not alone in here, no, I'm in the finest company. 'Cause the ghosts are all my friends now, and they sit right here with me. The ghosts are all my friends now, the ones I loved and lost. We sit and talk about the years, and we don't count the cost. There's no more pain, there's no regret, there's no more need to mend. 'Cause when you've lived a good long life, the ghosts are all your friends. And they don't haunt me anymore, they don't make me wanna cry. They're just a sweet and soft reminder of a life that's drifted by. And they'll be right here beside me till my own time is all through, and I become a friendly ghost, my darling, just for you. A wise, gentle, and deeply peaceful harmonica solo that feels like a warm, comfortable conversation with a lifetime of memories. The finest company, sitting here with me. The ones I loved and lost. We don't count the cost till the very bitter end. The ghosts are all my friends. My wood is old and faded, I've got scratches on my face. I've been in 1,000 smoky bars in every lonely place. For years he'd pull me from my case beneath a single light, and he'd sing his songs of heartache to the long and empty night. And I knew his every sad chord and his every lonely plea. He was a man who only knew the sound of leaving him and me. And oh, the songs I used to know were all of lonesome tears, the bitter cold companions of his young and wasted years. The songs I used to know were all of whiskey and regret, and the ghosts of all the lovers that he hadn't forgiven yet. I was just a box of sorrow, a singer of the blues, until the day he met you, and the songs I knew were new. notice he just sang what he'd been taught. But a different kind of feeling in his weary soul was caught. His fingers started finding chords that were warmer and more bright, and his voice was full of color in the middle of the night. He was writing songs of sunshine, he was writing songs of spring. He was finally learning how a happy, hopeful heart can sing. 'Cause all the songs I used to know were all of lonesome tears, the bitter cold companions of his young and wasted years. But the songs he plays me now are all of coming home to you, and the beauty of a morning and a sky of perfect blue. I'm not just a box of sorrow, I'm a singer of the truth. 'Cause the man who plays me now is a man in love with you. And sometimes late at night he'll pull me out and play so soft, not for a crowd of strangers, but for the one he's loved and lost, and then found again so beautifully, a story to be told, worth more than all the silver and more than all the gold. That starts with the initial lonely blues you feel, but then transforms into a beautiful, hopeful, and soaringly romantic melody. The songs I used to know were all of lonesome tears, but the songs he sings me now can quiet all my fears. He's a singer of the truth, and he's a man in love with you. Sitting on the hood of my old beat-up Chevrolet at the closing of a long and sweet and a perfect summer's day. But this silence is a different kind. It's heavy and it's deep, full of all the promises that we both know we cannot keep. Your suitcase is all packed, it's in the back seat ready to go. The saddest piece of luggage that I'll ever know. And we're watching the summer's last sun set a fire in the sky, the hardest and the prettiest and the longest last goodbye. We're watching the summer's last sunset, and I'm trying to be brave and memorize the feeling of your hands on gentle wave. The colors are all fading just like our youthful dreams, washed away forever in a lonely flowing stream. that you promise you will write, to get me through the darkness of a long and lonely night. And I'm making promises right back that I will wait for you. And we're both just lying beautifully, 'cause we know it isn't true. We're just two kids who're terrified of what we have to face, the emptiness of this old town, this sad and lonely place. 'Cause we're watching the summer's last sunset, a fire in the sky, the hardest and the prettiest and the longest last goodbye. We're watching the summer's last sunset, and I'm trying to be brave and memorize the feeling of your hands on gentle wave. They tell you when you're young that love will conquer anything, but they don't tell you about the heartache that a different future brings. And we're just another story of a girl and of a boy who had to trade their perfect and their wild and simple joy. A beautiful soaring but deeply sorrowful harmonica solo that feels like watching the last colors of a sunset fade to black. The summer's last sunset, a fire in the sky, the longest last goodbye, trying not to cry. The colors are all fading, just like our youthful dreams. I've been standing on this hillside for 100 years or more. I've seen the seasons come and go right outside my own front door. My floors have felt the footsteps of a dozen different lives, the worried, pacing husbands and the patient, loving wives. I remember when he lived here, a quiet, lonely man, with a silent kind of sadness and no real or future plan. And I've held a lot of secrets in these bones of wood and stone. I've heard the sound of laughter and the sound of a sad groan. I've been a silent witness to the bitter and the sweet, the rhythm of a family in the victory and defeat. And I thought my empty rooms would be forever all alone, until she came and brought a different kind of loving to my bones. I remember when he brought her here, he was so full of doubt, afraid that all my crooked floors would make her turn about. But she just smiled and looked around, and she ran a loving hand across my dusty window panes in this quiet, weary land. And I felt the whole place lighten, I felt the whole place change, a beautiful and welcome and a
and stone. I've heard the sound of laughter and the sound of a sad groan. I've been a silent witness to the bitter and the sweet, the rhythm of a family in the victory and defeat. And I thought my empty rooms would be forever all alone, until she came and brought a different loving to my bones. Then I felt the storm a-comin', and I stood up straight and tall, and I promised them that I would never ever let them fall. And now I hear the little feet of children on my stairs, and I'm the proudest, strongest house that's answered all their prayers. A wise, proud, and deeply soulful harmonica solo that feels like a lifetime of memories held within old wooden walls. These bones of wood and stone, the finest seeds I've sown, the bitter and the sweet, a family complete. I'll never be alone in these bones of wood and stone.
She brought you home on Sunday, just like she said she would. And you stood there on my front porch, and you smiled and you looked good. But I've been a father long enough, and I've learned a thing or two about the kind of easy promises from a handsome boy like you. I've seen her heart get broken, I have held her when she's cried. So you'll have to understand the wall I'm building up inside. 'Cause I'm looking at you now through a father's eyes. I'm not looking for the easy talk or the well-rehearsed sweet lies. I'm looking at you now, and I'm searching for a sign that you understand the treasure that's that precious girl of mine. I don't care about your money, I don't care about your name. I'm just watching how you look at her in this terrifying game.
I watched you at the dinner table, I watched the way you'd speak. You'd listen to her stories of her long and busy week. And you didn't try to interrupt, you didn't try to shine. You just let her be the center of her own and sweet design. And when she'd laugh, that laugh of hers, the one that's pure and true, I saw the same exact reflection of it right inside of you.
And I'm looking at you now through a father's eyes. I'm not looking for the easy talk or the well-rehearsed sweet lies. I'm looking at you now, sign that you understand the treasure that's that precious girl of mine. Then later on we sat outside, just you and me alone, and you told me you'd been broken on a path that you had known. You said, "Sir, I'm not a perfect man, but I will do my best to be the kind of shelter that can put her heart to rest." And in that honest moment I saw the man inside, a good and decent soul with nothing left to hide. A harmonica solo that starts with the initial cautious, protective feel, but then transforms into a warm, approving, and deeply contented melody. Looking at you now through a father's eye, I don't need no sweet lies, I see it in your eyes.
You understand the treasure,
that precious girl of mine. My paint is chipped, my seat is torn, my engine's got a knot. I'm 100,000 weary miles around the same old block. But I remember when he bought me with a young and hopeful grin, the first real piece of freedom that he'd ever settled in. I was just a bag of bolts and rust, a way to get around, the start of a long journey in a sleepy, quiet town. And I saw it all happen through my windshield cracked and white. I saw the nervous, hopeful boy with that pretty girl inside. I saw the first and clumsy kiss in the pale and moonlit haze, the start of all their beautiful and their long and summer days. I don't have a heart, but I've got a soul. I'm more than just some steel, 'cause I saw their love story and I know that it was real. I brought her home from the hospital, so tiny and so new, their firstborn little daughter, a dream that had come true. I've hauled the wood to build their house, I've hauled their hopes and fears. I've been a silent, steady witness to their laughter and their tears. I've taken them on road trips with the windows open wide, a happy singing family all bundled up inside. 'Cause I saw it all happen through my windshield cracked and white. I saw the nervous, hopeful boy with that pretty girl inside. I saw the first and clumsy kiss in the pale and moonlit haze, the start of all their beautiful and their long and summer days. I don't have a heart, but I've got a soul. I'm more than just some steel, 'cause I saw their love story and I know that it was real. And now he's getting older, his hair is turning gray, and he pats me on the rusty hood at the closing of the day. And he doesn't see the dents, you know, he doesn't see the rust. He just sees a faithful partner that he's always learned to trust. A bluesy, loyal, and deeply nostalgic Monica solo that feels like a long, dusty, and happy road. Through my windshield, cracked and white, with that pretty girl inside, the pale and moonlit haze, their long and summer days. More than just some steel, I know that it was real.
You come in from the fields with the sunset in your hair and the heavy silent burden of a world of worry and care. You wash your hands, you sit right down, you ask about my day, and you try to build a fortress to keep the wolves at bay. You think I only see the man so steady and so strong, who's never made a misstep, who's never gotten wrong. You don't have to be stone for me, you don't have to be steel. I fell in love with a tender heart that you have tried so hard to conceal. You don't have to be stone for me, you can let your worries show, 'cause I'm your safe and quiet harbor, a place for you to go. When the world has gotten heavy and you're feeling all alone, come on home to me, my darling, you don't have to be a stone. I see you late at night, sometimes you're staring at the moon, and you're humming some old sad and some forgotten lonely tune. And I know you're thinking about the bills and the chances of a drought, and all the million little fires that you're trying to put out. You think you have to carry it, this whole world on your own, and you never learn to ask for help on your proud and lonely throne. You don't have to be stone for me, you don't have to be steel. I fell in love with the tender heart that you have tried so hard to conceal. You don't have to be stone for me, you can let your worries show, 'cause I'm your safe and quiet harbor, a place for you to go. So let the armor fall tonight, lay your heavy burden down. You're not the lonely king of this forgotten weary town. You're just a man of beautiful and a complicated soul, and letting me ride in my love is what will make you whole. Tender, empathetic, and reassuring harmonica solo that feels like a loving, gentle embrace. You don't have to be stone, you don't have to be steel. The tender heart that you try so hard to conceal, let your worries show.